So have you ever been convinced that you had the best product, the best service? Maybe you just knew that you had the best idea or you were the best person for that job. And you delivered that pitch and then you waited for that email, and there in your inbox were those beautiful words, "We regret to inform you." Or worse, they didn't even bother to let you know. If you've been there, raise your hand in the air and say, "I." We've all been there, haven't we? And let me tell you something, I was there more times than I care to remember. I would go in, do what I thought was a great pitch, only to lose it, often to somebody who's offering less value at a higher price. And I'll never forget losing a major deal for an organization I just knew I would have been able to add great value to. And while working out my frustration at the gym, it occurred to me, if I was so convinced that my offering was better and I lost it to somebody who I believed was offering less, then clearly it's not enough having the best product. You've got to have the best pitch. Anybody remember that film Field of Dreams from the 1980s with Kevin Costner, right? Costner plays the small-time farmer, but his real passion is baseball, right? He wants to convert the farm into a baseball pitch. But like any entrepreneur, it's a dilemma, right? He could do it, win big, or lose everything. And while he's struggling with this dilemma, these words come to him, which have become a rallying cry for entrepreneurs everywhere. Does anybody remember those words? But what's that? If you build it, they will come. Don't you love those words? Man, I found that so inspiring. The idea that all you need to do is just build your skills, bring value into the world, just do something fabulous, and people will come. Build it, and they will come is a lie. It's a beautiful lie. But it is a lie. Build it. Pitch it better than anyone else. And then, and only then, maybe they'll come. If you're anything like me, you've spent a lot of your life developing your skills, really building your value, taking yourself perhaps from good to great. Well, here's what I've discovered. Great is not good enough. It's not good enough to be great at what you do. You have to be great at pitching what you do. In fact, you've got to be even better pitching what you do than doing what you do. And you might think that sucks. I thought it sucked. All I wanted to do was create. Really, all I wanted to do was deliver. But that is a fantasy, one that you see in a Hollywood movie. Listen, imagine bringing a life-saving drug into the world. A drug that cures a form of cancer. You wouldn't have to pitch that, right? I mean, people would be beating down your door to get that drug, right? Wrong. Pharmaceutical companies, according to the Washington Post, spend more money marketing, pitching those life-saving drugs than they do creating, developing, and delivering them. So if that is true for a drug that cures a form of cancer, it's got to be true for you and I. In fact, the number one factor in B2B buying decisions, even more than price or quality, are the skills of the person making that pitch. And when I faced that reality, man, I dug deep into every book and program on marketing and selling and pitching that I could get my hands on. See, my mission, the reason that I'm on this planet, is that I inspire and equip people to realize their potential. I do this through the various books that I've written, the programs that I deliver. The way I saw it, if I had to figure out how to pitch to fulfill my mission, then I was going to do it. But here's what I discovered. As I dug into this field, what I realized is that actually pitching is just communicating and educating. That's all. And I love communicating and educating. I mean, ever got fired up talking to somebody about what it is that you do? That's the basis of a great pitch. And even if you don't love communicating and educating, if you bring a life-saving drug into the world, part of your responsibility is to communicate to people how it saves lives. Now, you and I might not have brought a life-saving drug into the world, but whatever your gift to the world is, if you don't know how to pitch it, that gift is going unopened. And so I decided to create the best pitching program on the planet. Not really for anyone else. I actually never thought I would be sharing this. For myself, I had to figure this out. And I created this 6-step process. And as I applied it, everything changed. I pitched and won my own CNBC Africa television talk show. I pitched a publishing deal I'd only ever dreamt of. My speaking career exponentially increased. And that was it. Mission accomplished. And then I got a call from one of my clients, EY, one of the big 4 accounting firms. And they asked me to come and do the keynote presentation at their conference. And afterwards, the CEO called me up. He said, look, we're going into pitch for one of the big banks. We estimate about a 20% chance on this one. And so we want to try something different. That's when people call me, when they want to try something different. At that conference, I'd done a presentation called What's Your Story? Story is one of the keys to a winning pitch. So again, remember, I'd never actually taught this before. And now he was asking me to come and work with accountants. Now, no offense to any accountants that might be in the room, but accountants aren't renowned as the most scintillating communicators, right? I mean, if an accountant's wife can't fall asleep, she says to her husband, darling, tell me about your day. So, thank you, Mark. But so I was a little concerned about this, but I took up the challenge and I worked with these guys for a few days. And one of the things that we did, got rid of all the PowerPoint stuff. You know, PowerPoint is for people with no power and no point. And guilty as charged, because you are going to see some PowerPoint. But it's the way that we use PowerPoint. And what we did is, remember they were pitching a quality audit. Like an audit, it doesn't get much more commoditized than that. But it's amazing to the extent which you can apply this to anything. Because what we did is got them to actually share their story, their personal story, to make an emotional connection with that audit committee, which, by the way, are also accountants. At the end of the pitch, this audit committee stood and applauded, and they won the business. And that was when I realized, if my mission was to equip and inspire people to realize their potential, if you can't pitch your potential, you can't realize your potential. And so this is why this is now part of my suite of offerings. And so what I'm going to do in the little time that we have is share with you 3 of the 6 keys to winning pitch. Are you ready for your first? If you are, raise your hand in the air. They warned me against doing this with London audiences, but look at you. Look at you. Thank you. By the way, that's called a little compliance trick. Get them to say yes early on, and then later when you ask for the big stuff, they're so used to saying yes. So are you ready to hand over your life savings? Thank you, Caroline. So there's one, and you only need one. And, all right, here we go. All right, I want you to raise your pen in the air for me, please. Raise your pen in the air and put it behind your ear. Humor me for a moment. Put it behind your ear. That is an antenna. It is tuned into one frequency and one frequency only. WIIFM. What's in it for me? And that is our first key to a winning pitch. It's not about us. Nobody really cares about us. They care about themselves. And our first responsibility is to figure out what they need and what they want. That is our first responsibility. This is not a one-size-fits-all. Imagine going to a doctor with a headache. And you're about to tell him, and he says, shh, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take out your liver. And you're like, look, but we did this for a chap last week, and he is doing fabulously well. But how often do we do that with clients, right? We come in with our offering, and we are convinced that this is what they need before we've done the diagnosis. Before we do the prescription, we've got to do the diagnosis. And really what this comes down to, of course, is listening. So we want to get them to tell us a story. So we're going to, here's what happens to me, and I imagine you probably get something similar. When I go into a client, I'm usually pitching for a conference or to do a training program in their organization. Client will usually say, tell me what you can do for me. You get a version of that? Tell me what you can do for me. In the old days, I used to make a terrible mistake. I used to reply. It's a trap. Don't do it. Right? Because you've got a suite of offerings, right? Who knows whether that's what they need? It's like Russian roulette. You could get it right, but you're probably going to kill the deal. Talk about things they're not interested in. So now I always say this. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share that with you. First, I'd like to understand, what is it that you want to achieve? Or even better, what are the challenges that you're currently facing? Now, I particularly like that second question, challenge, because that gets them to talk about their problem. And nobody ever goes, my life and business are fantastic, now let me pay you to change it. Right? So the mistake we make in pitching is we jump straight to solution, but they've got to feel the problem, right? People are twice as motivated to reduce pain as to increase pleasure. So this is a little sadistic, but we've actually got to get them into a pain place, a place of pain. When they're feeling the pain, so what is the challenge? They feel that pain, now they're going to be ready to hear about the solution. Of course, now that we understand the problem, we're in a much better position to pitch the solution. Folks, that's what a pitch is. A pitch is a solution to a problem. So we've got to clarify what that is up front. This means that when it comes to pitching, she who listens best wins. As the great American philosopher Jane Fonda said, it is more important to be interested than interesting. The next key to a winning pitch that I want to share with you. So, according to the UK Department of Labour Statistics, 1 in 9 people is a salesperson. But if you think about it, so are the other 8. Anytime that you influence anyone to do anything, you're selling them on a course of action, right? Whether it's pitching your team on a profit-boosting idea, to your partner on where you want to go on holiday. A little bit more difficult. I mean, the first time that we scream as a little baby, what are we doing? We're selling our mother's silence for her milky breast. For men, that continues way into adulthood. So, the fact is, this is what we are all doing. So when people say to me, I'm just not a salesperson, or I hate selling, here's what they're really saying. I hate rejection. But we've got to get over this rejection thing, because it's on the other side of rejection that the pitch is won. I'm going to share with you what I think may just be the most important number you're going to hear today. It's the number 7. And that's the amount of times that you need to be exposed to a new product, service, or idea before you will feel comfortable enough to buy. 7. Why? We all have something called the stranger syndrome. We're inherently skeptical of new product, services, and things. And this really has to do with our caveman brains. Think about your caveman ancestor. The first time she sees some red berries, would it be a good idea for her to eat those red berries? I mean, they look beautiful, luscious, gorgeous, wonderful, right? Like many of our products and services. They look amazing, but the berries could be poisonous. So it could be the last time she eats anything. So instead she gives the berries to the dog, to that uncle she doesn't like so much. She sees how the berries work for them, and then she might. Human beings have a very high threat aversion. And so you are guilty until proven innocent. And the only way to be proven innocent is through familiarity. So the more times I hear your idea or see your product, the more familiar it becomes. I just came across a fascinating study last week. So if you're not Chinese and Chinese characters are unfamiliar to you, and you have 2 Chinese characters flashed in front of you over a period of time, and you're then asked, which of those 2 characters do you prefer? You invariably prefer the one that was flashed a little bit more often. A little bit more often. When it comes to business, familiarity does not breed contempt, it breeds sales. And so we've got to be prepared to get back there again and again and again. Now, who's going to go through 7 exposures? By the way, it doesn't mean making 7 calls in the same half an hour. An exposure could be an email, it could be a phone call, it could be a face-to-face. But folks, the best kind of exposure is what's happening here today. Think about what we're doing here today. This is a value-based exposure. Unique Speaker Bureau, come. They bring these speakers in front of you. You get some of the books. And nobody's really explicitly selling you anything. But what you're getting is value, right? In effect, what's happening here is you're being served before sold, right? And so this is the best kind, where you actually are out there giving people a sample of what it is that you do, giving them real value. So when you position yourself as a subject matter expert, as the authority in your field, well, that's when people, some of you may be ready to buy now, but some of you may not. But when you are, where are you going to go? To somebody who's just trying to sell you, or somebody who's already demonstrated value? So this is where we want to be in terms of those exposures. It does mean, though, who is going to persist and be patient? The pessimist or the optimist? Pessimist says, they don't like me, they're never going to buy. The optimist gets back up, right? As Rocky Balboa said. You'll notice that I only ever quote the most esteemed authorities. It is not how hard you can hit. It is how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Which brings us to the third and final key I'm going to share with you this morning. So, remember, when people say they hate selling, what they're actually saying is that they hate rejection, but there's something else that they're saying they hate. They're saying that they hate taking. If you associate selling with taking the deal, taking their money, and you're a good person, you don't want to be a taker, your brain will sabotage you when it comes to pitching. So what does selling really mean? Well, we're in the right place to answer that question because the word actually originated right here in mercantile London. And back then, the word was sellan. And sellan meant to push something on someone that they really don't want. No, that's not what it meant. But by the way that some people sell you thinks that is what it meant. In fact, the word sellan meant to give. Great salespeople are givers. They give great value. They give great products. They give of themselves. And it turns out that the best way to get is to give. So, beautiful study, Wharton Business School. Professor Adam Grant takes a group of salespeople, divides them into two. The one group, every day for 6 months, they listen to stories, customer success stories of all the great things that this company's done for customers. Think of these guys as the missionaries, right? And the other group, every day they listen to stories of other salespeople who've been in the same position and the perks and benefits and commissions that they've earned. So think of these guys as the mercenaries. By the way, how do we motivate salespeople as mercenaries or missionaries? Generally, mercenaries, don't we? So over 6 months, do you think the mercenaries increased sales? Sure they did. It does work, absolutely. But guess what? The missionaries, the guys focusing on how we make a difference in customers' lives, doubled the increase of the mercenaries. That's the power of purpose. So, in the couple of minutes that we've got left, let's see to what extent we can apply what we've learned. I'm going to ask you please to stand up. Turn to the person next to you and tell them your name and what you do. Tell them your name and what you do. I'm running to the loo. Okay. All right, good. We all covered that? Okay. So, folks, think about what we just did. This would be known as an elevator speech, right? You're in an elevator with someone, you connect quickly, you say, this is who I am, this is what I do. The problem is this is why most of us are forgotten, because remember, people don't really care about us, they care about themselves. So this time around, instead of saying what you do, I want you to say what you can do for them. So instead of talking about your product or your position, talk about the value. So let me give you an example. If you're a conference organizer, by the way, do we have any conference organizers in the rooms? In the room? Great. So what we might say is, hey, I'm an event manager, right? Or a conference organizer. Another version of that might be, I create events that compel people to take action long after the event is over, right? Or I create events that get people fired up. And so you get the point. It's not what I do, but the impact of what I do. So in terms of thinking about this, think about what makes you special or different. Where is that differentiation that really what we're talking about is your why? That's purpose. So it's not what I do, it's why I do it. So I tell you what, and we really are short on time, but that's good because that'll really get our brains fired up. I'm going to give you a moment to write that down. So just take a moment to see if you can write down one line that really captures not what you do, but why you do it. That captures not your product, but the value of your product. Good. Everybody got something? Should we get a quick volunteer? I think we might have a prize in the room, a pitch to win book. Yes.
I bring people who know things to meet people who need to know those things.
Ooh, nice. Everybody get that. What's your name?
Nigel.
Nigel says, I get people who know things to meet people who need to know things. Now that's interesting, right? But if I asked you, what do? What would you have said?
I'm a facilitator.
Okay. Which of those captivates you? Which of those gets you to engage in a conversation that lasts beyond that elevator trip? Yeah? Beautiful. Thank you. Somebody else? One more. I've got winding down at the back. So we've got... Anyone? All right. So I tell you what, very quickly, up on your feet, now turn to the person next to you. Tell them not what you do, but why you do it. Tell them not about yourself, but about what you can do for them. Go.
I do. I help people and promote their reputation.
Brilliant, no, brilliant, lovely. I did, love it.
No problem.
Well done, eh?
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
No, thank you very much.
Not allowed to sit down.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I know that my time is up, and that means so is yours for the moment. So let me just leave you with this. And this answering of why I do what I do is something that we can refine. But what we've done is, through doing it this way, we tune into them. Makes us a whole lot more optimistic about being able to deliver on that value. And really what we're pitching is not a product. We're pitching our purpose. Those are 3 of your 6-step TOPPS formula. For the other 3, you have the book. Thank you so much.